With us in our very first story, families of the 4 kidnapped Takoradi girls declared dead are contesting the DNA results released yesterday by the police. Addressing a news conference this morning at Diabene in Sekondi Takoradi, the 4 families questioned the timing of the announcement by the police. They claimed the police is making deliberate attempts to close the docket on the case, but as families, they will not allow that to happen.
I'm going to the police to assist me. Suppose they did what I reported to them, this street trigger will have not happened. Yes. Will never. Ruth Abeka, she was kidnapped 29th July 2018. On the following day that I reported the case to police, nothing was done until the boys were at school. Before they call us to deal with these very cases. Let's take for instance media. When you go to laboratory and they examine you, they give you a sheet, the analysis that they have done, they give it to you. And that very sheet will be presented to your doctor to explain. So you want the sheet. You want the sheet of the analysis.
Yes, the certified
sheet of the analysis
of the forensic.
You question them that very day when they are come to take the DNA. That when are they going to complete this very process? They told us they don't know. It will take a time. And you question them. How do they know? Because the bones. How long has they kept the bone? Whether 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years? Because you cannot take a bone that you don't know the period that you have been buried, and you assume it to come and tell us that, sitting at that vessel, telling us that it's our daughters. How? In the culture of Ghanaians, the norms and values of the Ghanaians, when somebody dies, it is the Abuswapei they come to him and disclose the whole thing to him in the daytime, not nighttime. Because of this, my wife is still now collapsed. My wife is.
Head of Forensics Department at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Richmond Afuakwa, said the families can request for an independent DNA test to clear their doubts. He spoke with Arba Kumsin on News Desk.
A series of preliminary processes had to be fulfilled before we arrived at the point of conducting DNA examination or investigation. One couldn't just jump the gun and then land on the DNA part, because that would mean, you could be having a wild goose chase. For example, you could be working with the mortal remains of a very old person or even mortal remains of a male. So what the process began with was for an anthropologist, and I think we have said over and over again that it was a pathologist, but the correct term here is an anthropologist. An anthropologist to assemble the bones of all the girls, the 4 individuals, all bones belonging to each of the individuals, and then ascertaining as part of the preliminary investigation whether the bones that have been retrieved from the septic tank were indeed bones of girls, because we were looking for girls. If they weren't bones of girls, then we eliminate the girls, because, of course, the bones of a girl is totally different from the bones of a boy. And a forensic anthropologist has the skill to be able to tell the difference between these 2 kinds of bones. Secondly, then you will determine the age range of the bones at the time of death. You know that the bones speak a lot. Once you have the bones, you are able to tell what age range. Of course, if you have a skull and in the skull you have some lost teeth, you have very, very degraded teeth, and you can easily tell from the skull that this is the bone of a very old person. But we were looking for girls in the 18, 19, and in the early 20s. And the skull will tell you that at the point of death, these people were within this age range. This is not routine. So the police now will have to, and they don't have the reagents sitting on the shelves, because it would be very, as a manager, if you are managing a lab and you have to buy reagents for DNA extraction from bones, which samples you don't get in your lab routinely, That would be bad managerial practice. You understand? So the police was now going to make a request for the lab to be furnished with the correct reagents for this kind of DNA extraction. The police couldn't use the reagents for, say, extracting DNA from buccal swabs or even from common skin samples for this kind of work. So they needed some time. And that is why I kept saying that the 4-week period we had given the police was unnecessary. It was going to give them a lot of pressure, and that if we weren't careful, we would mount so much pressure on them and they would make mistakes. So I'm very happy the police didn't work under pressure, and they have come out with the results in their own time.
Still live on Joy News today, we stay with this story and ask, what does this development regarding the confirmation of the deaths of the 4 girls mean to our security as a country? Security expert Dr. Emmanuel Kwesi Ening has been given some analysis on Joy 99.7 FM's Super Morning Show.
It's a much more difficult issue prior to this. That is a section of the service earlier on, that is the CID, claiming that they knew where the girls were. You see, and that assumption that they were alive. So the point is that, is it possible at all in any way that the miscommunication and cross-communication may also have delayed the investigation process and diverted attention away from these sites where these girls were eventually found? You know, so there are quite a few loose ends that we need, to look at.
There have been massive calls for resignations, for dismissals, particularly directed at the CID Director General. Considering that you feel, even in what you've said, that there may have been some distractions from the actual investigation, would you say these calls are fair?
Oh, I think it's legitimate for the public, particularly when they are unhappy, to call for these things. Resignations, dismissals, administrative queries, whatever. But also that in a democratic system and in a culture where resignations are not normal or usual, then we need to allow the institutional processes for disciplinary measures to work. And I think it is also fair to those whose resignation or dismissal is being requested for, that they are given a chance to explain themselves. But this is a bigger trust issue. Knowing where we are located and the difficulties that our contiguous states have, it is crucial that the levels of trust between the public as a whole and then the law enforcement agencies continues to grow stronger and stronger. And certainly the sequencing of events around the kidnap, the eventual discovery of remains, and the conclusion by the DNA expert that it is these 4 girls, and the joyous behavior of the officers behind the IGP shows that there's a huge gap between what the public expects and the levels of professional behavior put forward by some police personnel. And I'm hoping that something can be done about it. You see, and this niggling question that I don't want to ask now.
Meanwhile, former CID boss Bright Odro also questioned the police's failure to conduct a physical identification of some items found as the place where the girls were suspected to have been held. He believes The inaction on the part of the police, among others, cast doubts on investigation so far. He spoke on the AM show this morning.
I have always believed that the investigation should have been open, especially when the remains were found, because while we have found skeletal remains of some people unknown. If they were the girls, we need to find out who killed them. If they were not the girls, we need to establish the identity of those skeletal remains. So in either way, you need to conduct investigation because they have been found dead and in a manhole. I don't know whether the police have started investigating the murder. All along they have been looking at kidnapping. Now it's murder because they have been found dead. And I don't know whether they have started investigating this murder aspect. And I think they should have started at the time the remains were found. Who killed them? Why were they dumped there? When were they killed? And what was the motive behind the killing? So all these questions need to be answered. DNA testing, I mean, you and I don't know how it is done. And the family may not appreciate how it is done, whether the results are conclusive enough or not. They don't know. And so if they say they will challenge, I think it is in the right direction. They can have their own sample, they can have samples, and then maybe do further testing elsewhere. But, you see, I have said somewhere that there are some forms of identification that can be done at any time. These remains were found, the skeletal remains were found, we had the skull indicating the denture of all these girls. Then we also had, I think, the hair mic or whatever, the 3 girls. They were also found. And then some waist beads were also found. Not only the skeletal remains. And so I have said, and I have indicated to some officers, police officers, that there was a need for probably physical identification first. And this physical identification can only be done by the family of the girls. If you get them involved in that physical identification, of course, it will be, I think, traumatic for them to come and identify in the first place. But they need to be taken through some protocol and be emboldened enough to come out and then see whether those items that were found indeed belong to the girls. As for the 4th one, there were, I think, dresses. We have heard that those dresses belong to that girl, Abeka or something. So this physical identification I was talking about, I think should have been done early enough, and the family would have now been well aware that, oh, these girls are our girls. These girls are not our girls. Because I'm sure if you look at the teeth, the denture, somebody who knows any of them will be able to tell whether the teeth belong to this or not. Somebody who knows them will be able to identify the hairstyle or the hair that was found alongside the skeletal remains and the waist beads as well. So that should have been done. And I talked to some people that this has to be done. Physical identification, making them involved in identification of them initially, and then the DNA will add finality to the, the identification. If they had come out to say, oh, these beads that we found belong to our girl, this hair is that of our girl and all that, and they will not maybe dispute the DNA testing.
So in case you've not followed the story fully, here's a chronology of events. So in 2018, July 29 to be specific, Ruth Abeka was kidnapped. On August 17, the second girl, Priscilla Blessing Bintum, went missing. In December, 2 other girls, Priscilla Mantibia Cranche and Ruth Love Quason, went missing. Now, December 22, the main suspect, 28-year-old Nigerian Samuel Wills, Udosek Wills, was first arrested the day after kidnapping of the 4th and last girl, Priscilla Mantibia Cranche. On the 30th of December, he escaped from Takoradi Central Police Cell 8 days after he was caught at about 4:30 p.m. 7 police officers on duty during the escape were directed to reproduce the suspect within 10 days after residents accused them of complicity. Now, Samuel Wills was recaptured at Nkrofo near Takoradi 5 days after he escaped. On the 29th of April 2019, main suspect was sentenced to 18 months in prison by Takoradi Magistrate Court in the Western region. This was on the escape from prison charge. June 4, second suspect, 29-year-old John Orji, was arrested in the Togo section of the Aflao border. On June 12, he was arraigned at the Second Takoradi High Court 2 for conspiracy to kidnap and kidnapping. On August 2, police in Ghana were informed by Nigerian authorities that a third suspect, Chika, had been arrested in Abuja. September 16, acting IGP provides information on events leading to the final conclusion with a DNA result. And of course, that was last night. Now, the main suspect, Samuel Wills, identified Chika via video chat and had a confrontational exchange with him, insisting the third suspect knew the whereabouts of the girls. Samuel Wills said together with Chika and another woman, Mama Soboma, they came to Ghana for the girls. The girls were sent to a place called Baby Factory at Anambra State in Nigeria. The IGP said all the Nigerian leads given by the suspect grew cold. The police, after examining the information so far, began a search on the property where the main suspect lived. Et voila, they found the human remains. Expect more on this story as and when the details come in.
I went to school, I stayed in the house. I stayed in the school for 2 good months. I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. I was busy and I had 6, all 6. I chose a holy child and they give it to me. My friend chose that place and I asked her to take pictures of the people who were enrolled in the school. Some of them were having 10, some of them having 14. What's the meaning of all this thing? Me having 6, I didn't get in school. And I'm here suffocating. I almost died over there. What is my fault? Is it my fault that I had 6? It's my fault that I left and had 6. I haven't been there. Look at this place. How can I go there?
That's one of the frustrated students in pain over her non-placement by the computerized school selection placement system underway at the Black Star Square. Meanwhile, Accra Region SWAT Commander DSP Suleiman Asule Jr. says adequate security arrangements have been made to prevent the recurrence of the chaos that broke out at the Black Star Square yesterday over the computerized school selection and placement systems challenges. He tells JoyNews police and officials of the Ghana Education Service, as well as the CSSPS Secretariat, met to review the security arrangements after at least 3 students and a parent passed out under the sweltering heat yesterday during a near stampede.
We've always had police presence here. The numbers were not as huge as we saw yesterday. And then we have to sit down again to review the security situation. We're all not happy to see what happened here yesterday when the numbers swelled up. We had a meeting, the regional police commander, his second in command, the regional operations officer, and a few officers. We ran and had a meeting with them. And then so moving forward, we have to review our security arrangements. Officials of and the GES also made us to understand that they have categorized the people. Not everybody here is here with the same problem. There are some who are here either because they have been placed in the school for the deaf or blind, when in actual fact they are not blind or deaf. So that is a special case. Who are here who want to change either from change their school, either from the day to the boarding or boarding to. So they actually detail officers and then different decks to attend to these issues. And then if you are here with a special case, you are also put together and then under a particular shed. Today we didn't want anybody to form a winding queue and then stand in the sun, but to put them under the shed. Under the each time or particular time, we go in and bring in, say, about 20 people with a particular issue, and then they sit down. After they have finished attending to them, we go in again to the stands and bring in another batch. That is what we are doing across all the stands that we have here. And then I will say that so far, so good. We haven't experienced any incident. And you will realize that majority of the people are in the stands. Just a few, for whatever reason, have decided to come and stand, either to observe actually what is happening. So that is the arrangement we have for today, and it's good.
We're taking you live back to the Black Stars Coalition in the Bulletin right after this. Thanks for staying with us. Now, JoyNews can confirm the arrest of the main suspect in the murder of Nana Kwadwo Afodwo, a sub-chief of the Asantehene in neighboring Burkina Faso. 38-year-old spiritualist Mohammed Sadat, also known as Alhaji, was arrested by the police in Paga in the Upper East region with the support of their Burkinabe counterparts on Sunday evening while attempting to escape to Senegal. The suspects did not put up any resistance at the time of his arrest. Also in custody is the wife of the spiritualist, Nanaya Asantua Bonsu, Queen Mother of Pache number 1 in the Ashanti region. She is being interrogated. Ohiming Terrier of our security desk, who has been on the beat, joins us on the telephone with more. Ohiming, what more do we know about this arrest?
Thank you, Daniel. What we do know is that on Sunday, police in Ghana, specifically the Paga police, had information of the presence of the suspect in Burkina Faso. So they quickly moved in with the support of their Burkinabe counterparts and arrested the suspect, who at that time did not put in any resistance. And according to this particular information that we are sharing with you, this is from a close source, though police will not confirm or deny this report. They liaised with the Regional Police Command in Kumasi, who also sent in men to go to Burkina Faso to bring the suspect back in Ghana. Whilst the Regional Police Command were making efforts to ensure he sent back to Ghana to be interrogated, then the wife, Nana Asantua Bonsu, who we are told is the Queen Mother of Pache number 1, also surrendered and gave herself to the Regional Police Command, who then arrested her, and they have already started the interrogation.
I mean, do we have any information about the motives for this murder, or as alleged murder?
For now, it is not clear, though there have been some sort of speculation since Nana Kwadwo Afodwo was murdered on August 18th. Some, especially the family members, say they are aware of a debt, money that the spiritualist identified as Alhaji owed the late Nana Afodwo, though they wouldn't want to give the total sum of money that he owes him. And this spiritualist, we are told, before the death of Nana Afodwo, used to visit his residence. And the last time that the late chief was seen, he was seen in the company of the spiritualist, Mohammed Sadat, who police says his arrest put icing on the cake. So there has been several speculations all over. But this money or the debt between the late chief and the spiritualist has been confirmed by the family, though police wouldn't want to say that this is the reason why the chief was murdered.
So for the sake of our listeners or Himing who may now be hearing this story, take us back to how the murder occurred and how Nana Afodwo was found.
Yes, Daniel, what we do know is that on July 18, 2019, the late Nana Afodwo, who is considered a close relative of the Asantehene Oturufo Osei-Tutu II, his vehicle was found in between two communities, Adiembra and Ebuom, on the main Nkranza Ejura highway. And at that point in time, his vehicle had been set on fire, had been set ablaze. So it took the intervention of some members of a religious body who were returning from a prayer retreat.
Right. Hello, Heming. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost Heming Terry there, but he did communicate the import of how Nana Fujo was found. Let's quickly go back to Black Star Square for the latest on the Computerized School Selection and Placement Systems Solution Center. Kamla Adom is our man on the ground with the latest. Kamla, I understand security is heavy and there seems to be calm and order now.
Yes, Daniel, it is a very orderly process here, so I have to tell you. I have more
court order. So I told the police that when there is any case, they can go to
the point in terms of getting the
parents and the students in batches from the stands to the solution center where officials are seeing to them. A short time ago, some lists were posted all about this area with a number of schools in the Volta region, the OT region, the Northeast region, the Eastern region, for example, and then the students and parents are expected to choose 2 out of this list, and then they proceed to the solution center proper. They offer these 2 schools to the officials there, and then they begin the process from there. After that process is done, they are given an assurance to expect that they will have placements by Friday. They have been told to expect a phone call from the officials by Friday. But as you see, still a queue here. People are just trying to find their way to the barricaded area where they are expected to see officials of the CSSPS and GES who are coordinating the process here so far. I will attempt to speak to a few parents who are currently almost going through the process. Ma'am, Pacho, good afternoon. Pacho, only interesting come on na problem anything na wait me akonya solution.
Midday, me problem and say Mama, you be bia basa my Angaka ya kola no. In sort of schools yanim say ya ma ya de be ma ya mama wa tom no. Say omo de yan kwa tre ama my basa my confused. Me ba no krambo 4 days today no we need up to now.
She's saying that she's frustrated by the process. Her child was posted to a school very far. In Bachona school, I'm going to call you.
To Cape Coast, Odobing.
And I'm going to call him.
And I'm going to call Odobing school, a senior high school.
Okay, Nancy, say no problem then.
Problem is I'm ban chinem rakra.
I'm going to sue Accra schools.
Yeah, to sue here. You see, Accra na yama.
She says she chose Odobing Senior High School, which was given to her child anyway, but she suddenly realizes that it's quite a distance, so she's looking to change that to bring her daughter or her son to Accra. Into what Timiako, Honomako process.
I'm free or buy us. Why am I? Yes, you know, I give it to me.
Okay, so that is one of the parents. The Director General of the Ghana Education Service just showed up here. Let me just speak to him, get a few words from him. Thank you very much, Prof. Welcome to JoyNews today on JoyNews.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now the process today seems to be quite orderly and quite controlled. We are seeing the processes, the people being ushered in batches, and then the specific challenges are being addressed. Yes. Why did it take this long to get this process in such order?
Why did it take this long? Instead of praising what is happening now, you rather want us to go back. It didn't take long to do that.
I was asking based on what happened yesterday.
Yes, it happened yesterday, which was a Monday. And today is Tuesday, and it's been resolved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the procedure like? We understand from the announcement they made that those who want to change the residential status of the schools they were given cannot have anything done about that. But the other problems are going to be resolved.
So the issues that we have here are just about 2 or 3. There are people who have done automatic self-placement. We did the automatic placement for them. And they are people who selected their own schools, 5 choices, and we've placed them in one of them. Most of them, they want to come around and then see if they could change because maybe they didn't get their first choice or they didn't get their second choice. But at least they had one of their choices.
Okay.
Now, for them, what we are saying is that once it is your own choice, you cannot change. Now, then we have those who come in here who say, I am day, but I want to do boarding. What we're saying is that you can't change. If for any reason we would change for you, then we are going to give you a comparable school in the area where you live, so that you still go and do your day. Now, then the next group of students or candidates and applicants that we have here are those who are supposed to do their self-placement. For self-placement, you really does not need to come here to do self-placement, because the machine on which you realize that you have not been placed, when you go back on that same machine, you can do your self-placement. So you don't really need to come here. But if you come in here, we'll give you the list of schools that you can select from, and then we expect that they go back, look for a computer and then internet, and then do that self-placement. So those are the issues. Now,
Komladum there speaking with the Director General for the Ghana Education Service, Professor Opokwa Manko. I expect more from that specific interview in later bulletins. Coming up in business, it's 3 more days to the JoyNews Habitat Fair. Exhibitors are promising exciting deals. We'll hear from one of them.
To 5% discount. And trust me, 5% discount is not so small.
In sports, former Liberty Professionals player Latif Blessing is ready to switch nationality to get national team playing time. We'll be back. Stay with us.